Hello everybody, this is your old friend RJ City, and today I will be unboxing or continuing to sift through classic wrestling cards from, these are 1990. Even earlier than the later ones and later than the earlier ones. Nevertheless, let's get through them, shall we? The first one, the Widowmaker, Barry Windham. As a kid, I scanned this and didn't quite understand. I thought it said the Windowmaker, and I thought he was some sort of, aren't the letters like wood? He was like a little carpenter. If I were a carpenter and you were a lady. Look at him locking in that, would you marry me? Anyway, the knee pads down, would you have my baby? Height, 267 pounds. Hometown, Sweetwater, Texas. They put, what is this, sugar? This lake has stevia in it. Famous wrestling move, superplex off the second turnbuckle, which was, I loved it. Special feats / talents, maybe he plays a harmonica or something. Use of psychological warfare to instill fear in his opponents by talking about their inevitable death and the fact that they will die before their wives, and their wives will be left to roam the earth completely alone. There's very subtle psychological warfare. Unusual characteristics, because he seems so normal otherwise. He has never demonstrated an ounce of mercy. He's relentless in his administration of dishing out punishment. Does it in a very business-like manner. So there's the Widowmaker. The next one is Rick Martel, but like this looks like a little bit pre-model because the logo here is just a leaf. It has nothing to do with being a model. It has to do with being Canadian. Yet, his hometown here says Cocoa Beach, Florida. And you know, there's that little hamlet in Cocoa Beach where everyone just has a French-Canadian accent. Famous wrestling move, the Boston Crab. Special feats talents, Rick is a superb athlete and scientific wrestler, but enjoys wrestling against the rules. The spacing on these is just horrible. Unusual characteristics. Love to model the latest fashion. Gee, that's unusual for a guy named Rick the Model Martel. Deeply believes in his own ability, not only as a model, but as a wrestler. Who knew? Very unusual. The best. We did not appreciate her in her prime when she was doing this stuff, because this was just fantastic. Sensational Queen Sherry. This was her royalty phase. Special feats and talents. She was crowned queen of the WWF along with Macho King Randy Savage, whom she manages. They busted out a whom here. Unusual characteristics. Haughty, ill-tempered, and downright vicious. She claims to be a real woman. I'm not going to get into gender roles and questions of authenticity here, but they really push the boundaries on that card. And, look at this. Mr. Fuji. And what a weird logo. The J, maybe stands for Japan. Maybe that's why it's red. And he's wearing a little smoky eye. Good old Fuji's. Is it too blurry? No, you got the gist. 249 pounds from Osaka, Japan. Mr. Fuji is the cunning, remorseless, and ambitious manager of Barbarian Warlord. Ambitious meaning there's things he wants to do in life. Maybe he wants to go back to school, finish off that degree. Unusual characteristics. Carries a cane everywhere and his hat. So unusual for some guy like this to carry a cane and a hat. And he's letting you know it, though. He's not hiding it. It's not unusual to him. Here's Hercules pre-Power and Glory. Look at that. Good old torture rack. And that logo is just chains everywhere, because Hercules had chains or something. 275 pounds, Tampa, Florida. Famous wrestling move, the backbreaker. Special feats talents. Hercules is known for his incredible strength. That is unusual. Unusual characteristics. Swinging his chains around the... Okay, yeah, the chains are unusual, because I don't think Hercules did a lot with, chains, like the original Hercules, Who was there, like a Johnny Weissmuller type characters who I would think of. And speaking of forced upon gender roles, this is the king of men, allegedly, Freddie Blassie, and he's having a good time. He's jolly and full, and he's happy to be here. Known as Classy Freddie Blassie, more than 5 decades of experience as a 5-time champion, a top manager, and wrestling personality. This must have been when he was face, because his secrets of success are Don't give up. Even when they count 10 over you, you have to get up. Of course, the match will be thrown out because you've been knocked out. But after that, by 20 or by 30, be a good time to get up. Oh, here was an avid early watcher in the original days of Coffee and Underwear. This man would often watch the show. And this man is, of course, Lanny Poffo, the genius, pounding away on his foe here, the old knuckle sandwich. 252 from Downers Grove, Illinois. Even though his brother Randy was clearly from Florida, I don't know what happened there. Maybe the Poffos moved. Famous wrestling move, the honor roll, which I've never seen. Special feats. Master of 8 languages and writes intellectual poetry. None of that beat poet shit. We're thinkers here. This is a real Dead Poet Society kind of guy here. Unusual characteristics, claims to be the world's smartest man. I think so. Certainly has some of the world's best legs for an intellectual. Look, this is amazing because I've never seen this background anywhere else but this photo, and I love it, and I want to know how they got it and why they got it, and it's the best. I love it, and I want it. And I love this logo. He just jumped into pink, and it made him for some reason. 234 pounds, Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Famous wrestling move, the pile driver. This is pre-sharpshooting. The excellence of execution is a perfect description of Bret and his mastery of scientific wrestling moves. Unusual characteristics, he has an amazing level of dexterity. He battles his opponents to the very end. And they say, oh, you have such dexterity. And he goes, thank you. And then he hangs out. What is this, like a shower curtain? It's a latex, some sort of like fetish factory kind of thing? I don't know, I'm not really sure. It's like a meat packing plant, and it's one of those curtains. Ah, look at this guy. From dexterity, we go to just sheer ruggedness. And you know he's rugged because the word rugged is sporting what looks like his hair. And he's got kind of that... It's that fun. It's a real tight haircut. It's very chopped, short on the sides, and little... Yeah, it's just rugged. 242 pounds, Charlotte, North Carolina. Famous wrestling move, the Garvin Stomp. He just stomped. And it was almost like that wonderful episode of Lucy, where she's making wine. Served a stint as a referee. That was weird. He was like taking up odd jobs. Unusual characteristics. Ronnie is a man of iron determination and unbreakable will. And stole his own towels from his house. And his poor wife just has a set of just hers in the house. Because he's wearing these, wrestling in them is ridiculous. Here's someone who's happy to be here. Hillbilly Jim and his golden horseshoe. He's very lucky. And he's got a little, almost like a Pavarotti type handkerchief there to mop his brow. 286 pounds, Jesus. 6'7", from Mud Lick, Kentucky. And that's real, by the way. That exists. So this is not a wrestling. This is a Kentucky problem. Unusual characteristics. A good old country boy. Jim wrestles in his overalls and carries a lucky gold horseshoe. You're just describing what he looks like. There's nothing unusual about that. It's just what he... Speaking of unusual, also iron your fucking backdrop. And maybe this shirt here would be a good idea. He is committed to the bit. 457 pounds from Africa. Famous wrestling moves, the Avalanche. It's kind of weird they never named it. Special feats. Although wrestling... As a single, occasionally Akeem makes up one half of the Twin Towers with the Big Boss Man. Unusual characteristics. Akeem intimidates his opponents even before the opening bell with his immense size and utterly vicious manner in the ring. But before the bell rings, so he does stuff like, oh, he's really mean to the ropes. And he kicks the turnbuckle. Anyway, he's having a good time, and I guess we have no choice but to accept it, unfortunately. Those were a lot of poses. Not too much in the way of actual wrestling shots. This was more like a high school yearbook. And I just hope Mrs. Garvin, gets to complete her set of towels.